What is up guys, my name is Ignas, welcome back to the channel. This week we've made a dividend comparison on several names from the drug manufacturing industry, and now I would like to take a deeper look into one of those, Merck, ticker symbol MRK. This stock on the year to date is now up for 17.24%, 1 year's performance is also there at plus 15.95%, and then if we zoom out to 5 years, in 2017 it was trading at $60 per share, and went up more than 50% in these 5 years, to now $90.11. Company's market cap is at $228 billion, we have a price earnings at 13.79, and they are paying a dividend currently at a yield of 3.06%. So I am holding Merck on my Revolut portfolio, but I'm interested to check if it is now the time to be adding into this name more. So today we'll check Merck's financials and fundamental ratios, at what price the analysts think the stock will be trading next year, then what Superinvestors are doing with it, and lastly we'll get into the technicals of the price chart. I do hope that it will be worth our while, so let's start. First let's take revenue, and this is the history of the last 5 years. In 2017 the company was bringing $40 billion on the trailing 12 months, then in 2018 that increased to $41.3 billion, and in 2019 another increase to $44.4 billion. There was this drop by the end of 2019, where they brought in $4.1 billion for the quarter, a quarterly year-over-year decrease of 62.3%. That led to a bottom on the trailing 12 months revenue in 2020 at $36.5 billion. But after we did see the numbers going up, increasing for 6 quarters in a row, topping at $15.9 billion in 2022, up for almost 50% year-over-year, to $54 billion on the trailing 12 months. And now the last quarter is a bit lower, at $14.6 billion, but that is still a 28% increase for the quarter year-over-year. So we did see a bit of a slowdown in 2020, which kinda is to be expected, but recently quarters are promising, and overall in the last 5 years revenues has been on the increase. Now the second metric I want to check is price to earnings. So in 2017 that was at 29.6, and in a year in 2018 price to earnings peaked, since the price was moving sideways, and we had earnings bottoming at 50 cents per share, so we saw price to earnings at the top at 107.19, but after it the ratio went straight down. In 2019 with earnings booming, price to earnings went down to 21.31, then in 2020 we had earnings per share to over $4, so price to earnings at 17.62, 2021 had the P/E ratio a bit higher at 34.13, but if we take a look at it currently, earnings per share are peaking with $6.53, so the price to earnings ratio are way down at 13.96. And now as we saw the price moving a bit lower, price to earnings is also going there at 13.81. So there has been times where the stock was trading at a price to earnings of under 20, but looking at it right now, it is now at the bottom of where it has been in the last 5 years. Now let's take the number of shares outstanding. So back in 2017 it was at 2.75 billion shares. Then in 2018 we had a decrease year-over-year for 2.03% to just under 2.7 billion. The largest decrease was in 2019, down 4.01% to 2.59 billion shares. In 2020 they decreased it to 2.54 billion. And now in the middle of 2021 we had the worst quarter of the last 5 years, where they increased the number of shares outstanding by 0.16%, right there at 2.54 billion shares. And now with the most recent number in, it still remains at those 2.54 billion. So it seems that Merck has been buying back shares consistently, and in 5 years bought around 212 million of those. If we would assume the current price at around $90 per share, that is a stock buyback of almost $90 billion US, just a bit less than 10% of the current company's market cap. Now let us take a look into the dividends. So in 2017 the dividend payout was at $1.60, with a dividend yield of 2.81%. Then in a year the payout increased to $1.69, but with the price increasing we had the yield a bit lower at 2.71%. In 2019 the payout was at almost $2 with $1.99, but the price was also going up, so the yield at 2.64%. but after we had some time where the price moved sideways. So in 2020 the dividend payout was at $2.27 and the dividend yield going up to 2.87%. And then in 2021 we had the yield peaking at 3.56%, again with the dividend payout going up to $2.50, but the price going nowhere at those $70. The dividend payout keeps on going up, and this year we have it at $2.69, but with the price going to $90, we have the dividend yield now at around 3%. So taking the last 5 years, we can find that the dividend payout has been consistently moving up. And though we aren't getting the best yield of the last 5 years, we seem to be quite close to it now with those 3%. But to check into the dividend yield further, we'll use my watchlist on Google Sheets. So we are now in my watchlist, and this is here the tab for Merck. We have that same dividend yield history for each quarter of the last 5 years, and we can calculate that on average in 5 years the stock was trading at a dividend yield of 3.02%. So the worst time to get in was back in 2019, where the dividend yield was bottoming at 2.5%, under the 5-year average for 17.34%, and best was in 2021 at 3.56%, over average for 17.71%. But getting into the stock right now at a dividend yield of 3.03%, that is pretty much right there at the average, just a bit over it for 0.19%. So we could say that the stock is fairly valued right now, regarding where the dividend yield has been in the last 5 years. If you by any chance would be interested in getting access to this dividend investing watchlist, you are able to do just that by following the first link at the top of the description. Otherwise, leave a ticker symbol in a comment below, and I'll consider adding that into the watchlist myself. Maybe you could share some interesting opportunities available in the market that I'm still missing. So we have checked into the company's historical numbers, but now how about expectations? Where the analysts think the stock will be trading at next year? Here we have information on 22 price targets from analysts. The targets range from the lows of $85 to the highs of $125 per share. On average it goes for $100.68, and currently the stock is trading at $89.80. So on average, analysts predict that next year Merck should be going up by around 12%. Now let us take another angle. Here we have Merck's earnings estimates for next year, and out of 19 analysts, on average they predict that the company next year will be bringing $7.49 per share. If we assume that next year the price-to-earnings ratio remains the same, then that means that analysts expect an increase in the share price of 1.6%. So overall, analysts seem to be not by much but bullish, as they expect that next year Merck's stock should be moving up from 1.6 to 12%. Now we can switch over to Superinvestors. We currently have 7 funds holding the stock, 3 of those have added on their positions, 2 reduced, and 2 keeps on holding without any moves. Currently the largest holder is Can Brothers Group. They are now holding 699,000 shares, and recently added 0.65% into their position, now having 8.58% of their whole portfolio in this name. But the reductions seem to have been more impactful. For example, SoundShore reduced on their position by almost 56% and are now holding 233,800 shares, which is at 2.2% of their portfolio. And the largest percentage reduction is Matrix Asset Advisors. They decreased their exposure by 97.12%, so almost the whole position is gone, currently holding under 5,000 shares, which is 0.07% of their portfolio. So even though more funds are adding than selling, it seems that the reductions are way more impactful, as there has been more shares being sold than bought. Taking a look into insider activity, in the last 6 months they haven't been buying more shares, but they also haven't been selling. So on one hand there isn't much bullishness from insiders, but on the other still holding on to the stock is actually way more bullish than selling out of it. That seems to be quite different from other stocks that we've been looking into. Now the last part we have is the price chart. So in May of this year the stock reached the highs of $94.80, relative strength index was over 70 at 73.9, and 12-day moving average of the MACD was over the 26th one. The bearish MACD cross happened in a few trading days, the price started stumbling down, with the relative strength index going lower too. On June 9th, we reached the lows of $87.92, just under the 50-day moving average, and on the 16th we bottomed at the 100-day moving average at the lows of $83.05. But it seems that there was quite a support, so in like 5 or 6 trading days, we again surged to the highs of around $95 per share. The stock went sideways for almost a month, then on July 20 we went under the 50-day moving average again, to around $90 per share. Relative strength index was under 50 at 42, and the 12-day moving average of the MACD was going under the 26th one. In a few weeks we reached the 100-day moving average, but that again seems to be pushing the stock up. On August 11th we had the bullish cross in the MACD, and relative strength index moving back up to 45.6. Right now we are right there at $90, in between the 50 and the 100-day moving averages. Relative strength index is almost right there at 50 with 48, and we soon could be getting a crossover down in the lines of the MACD. So I believe the 100-day moving average could be a support pushing the stock up, but recently the relative strength index is moving lower, and the lines of the MACD about to go bearish, so I think we could be going lower again, and my next support is closer to the 200-day moving average, which is at around $84 per share. So now that we went through all those steps, let's make a quick recap of what we found. In the last 5 years, Merck's revenue has been consistently moving up. Since earnings are going higher, price to earnings is now the cheapest of the last 5 years. The company has been buying back shares, and in 5 years bought back 212 million of those. That is close to 10% of all the shares outstanding. They have been consistently raising their dividend payout, and we could say the stock is fairly valued on its current dividend yield, which is 0.19% higher than Merck's 5-year average. Analysts are just a bit bullish but still bullish, expecting that next year the stock will be going up from 1.6 to 12%. Unfortunately, Superinvestors are net sellers of the stock, but interestingly more funds are buying than selling, and in the last 6 months insiders have only been holding. Now the chart currently is not great. Both relative strength index and MACD are moving lower, and I doubt that the 100-day moving average is holding that as a support. So the next support I'm looking at is at around $84 per share. So that was it. Make sure to support the channel and leave a thumbs up under the video. What do you think, is Merck worth picking up right now? Share your stance on the name or your position in it in a comment below. If you would be interested in getting access to my dividend investing watchlist, then consider memberships. By becoming a member you will get access to Discord, where I share all my documents and all the buys and sells exactly when I do them. This could be a great option to track my moves closely. Last week I've looked into several other companies, so if you are interested in any of these, then click on a video that is currently on the screen. And that was it from my side. Thank you for watching, and I will be seeing y'all in the next one.